lived near the water my entire life. I've never lived directly on the beach, but I've also never lived further than maybe 20 or 30 minutes from the beach. Also, I have family up and down the coast of South Carolina, Georgia, and Florida, and I frequent these areas often, and having lived so close to the water for my entire life, I'm no stranger to hearing about shark attacks. But never in the 33 years of me being on planet Earth have I seen anything like what's been happening over the past couple of months. Over the past couple of months alone, I have heard about more shark attacks than probably over the last decade or more. It's really getting crazy, and I've been noticing a difference in aquatic life, or whatever you want to call it, for a while now. The first thing I noticed was that dolphins were coming closer and closer to shore, and they were just hanging out. Like literally, you can go to the beach, stand in ankle-deep water, and just watch the dolphins swim around. Now, I'm not saying this is something that's never happened before, but I've never seen it happen as much as I see it happening now. And it's happening like at packed beaches in Florida, dolphins just closer and closer to the shore. And then a few weeks ago, I went to the beach and there were hundreds and hundreds of horseshoe crabs everywhere. Also something I've never seen before. But even scientists and experts say that there is something going on in the ocean. There's something going on that's driving a lot of sea life closer to shore. Now, I think that it's probably because of like the wind farms, these big windmills that they have out in the middle of the ocean. I believe it's messing up the natural sonar systems that whales use, throwing off their frequencies and things like that. And one thing about the world, one thing about planet Earth, one thing about Mother Nature, animals always know first. When there's something off with the world, the animals know first. Even when there's a storm coming, the animals know first. The Weather Channel might get it wrong, but the animals don't. So I've been noticing, a change. I've been noticing something over the past few years. But what's happening lately, I don't have an explanation for it. I don't know why these sharks are coming closer to shore and acting more aggressively. But one of my theories is that, and I know this sounds crazy, one of my theories has been that these sharks are all jacked up on booger sugar. Let's just put it like that. One of my theories is that these sharks are acting more violently and they're attacking people more frequently because these sharks that are swimming close to shore, a lot of them are jacked up on coke. Now that might sound crazy. It might sound crazy if you're not paying attention, but they've already done tests and figured out that there's a lot of sharks out there that are testing positive for coke. And they seem to like it. Okay, they seem to take a liking to this substance more than other sea life. Now, depending on where you live, you might think, what? There's no coke floating in the ocean. Well, boy, oh boy, let me tell you. Off the coast of Florida, there's tons and tons of cocaine just floating around. If you're from Florida or if you live in Florida, chances are you know someone that knows someone that has stumbled upon a great deal of cocaine in the ocean floating around or something along those lines. Do you know how much cocaine is floating around in the Gulf of Mexico right now? You would be absolutely stunned. I'm talking about millions, if not billions of dollars worth. And it's not just affecting sharks. No, other sea creatures are getting jacked up on this stuff too, but sharks, they seem to really take a liking to it. So, one of my theories was maybe that's why we're seeing this uptick in shark attacks, and maybe that's the reason why they're so close to shore, because that's where you find a lot of this cocaine floating in the ocean. But I know that sounds like something out of a movie like Cocaine Bear. It sounds fake, right? It sounds like something from sci-fi. But over in Brazil, they just did tests. They tested over a dozen sharks, looking to see if they could find any traces of cocaine. And it turns out that not one, not two, not three, every single shark they tested positive for this stuff at pretty high levels. Let's go ahead and dive into this article because, if sharks weren't scary enough, now you got to worry about sharks who are jacked up on coke. Brazilian waters infested with cocaine sharks, scientists say. Drug-tainted oceans are turning marine life into unwitting users. In this study, cocaine was in every single shark tested. For years, researchers have explored the ecological threat of drug smuggling on marine life. It's no shock that drug-polluted waters negatively affect its inhabitants. What with the literal tons of cocaine sometimes found floating in the ocean? To determine the presence of cocaine in sharks, marine biologists tested 13 wild Brazilian sharp-nosed sharks near Rio de Janeiro. They specifically looked for cocaine. As it turned out, all 13 showed evidence of cocaine in their system, mostly in their muscle tissues. Not only that, the concentration of cocaine was 100 times higher than had been previously observed in other aquatic creatures, likely because this species spends a lot of its time and life in coastal waters. The study is from an organization affiliated with Brazil's Ministry of Health and published in the Science of the Total Environment. Though the scientists identified cocaine in sharp-nosed sharks, they didn't measure its actual impact on the creatures. In other words, it's unclear how the drug might actually affect the shark's behavior. Speaking to the BBC, biology professor Alex Ford, who has researched the impact of drugs and the chemicals they produce on marine life, shed some light on the issue. If you give animals antidepressants that were designed to affect human behavior, they affect the behavior of these organisms too. They will swim differently. They will behave differently. And they'll behave with each other differently. We've got to take this seriously. There are chemicals harming our wildlife now, which we banned 30 years ago, and they're still having effects now. Experts believe the concentration of drugs in coastal waters could be from illegal labs, lost packages in the course of trafficking, or in fact, primarily from the urine and excrement of drug users. It's a stark reminder that our actions on land, including apparently pissing while on coke, can have profound and unforeseen effects on the delicate balance of life around the world. So basically, they're saying that the reason why so many more sharks are testing positive for cocaine is because there's so many more humans on planet Earth testing positive for cocaine. And some of these people, they got so much stuff in their system, and they go out there and swim, and they pee in the water, and their pee is literally getting into these, animals, this sea life, and they're getting high, or they're getting drugs in their system from people pooping and peeing in the ocean, and from packages, gigantic packages, kilos and kilos of coke that's just floating out in the ocean. It's absolutely insane. But I fully believe that this is one of the reasons why these sharks are acting so much more aggressively lately. And I wish we would do tests like this in Florida. They need to have some biologists come down here to Miami, come down somewhere in Florida and do some tests like this, like they're doing in Brazil. And I guarantee you they will find the same thing. But even if you're not afraid of sharks, even if you don't go to the beach and you're not worried about being ripped apart by a bunch of high sharks, you also have to worry about the effects that this has on the food you eat. How many of the fish that you're eating, the oysters that you're eating, the clams, whatever. Think about all the seafood you eat. Is there cocaine in this seafood? And listen, I'm no expert, but I'm wondering, is there a possibility that you can eat enough seafood? Let's say you eat a bunch of fish that test positive for cocaine. Would you test positive for cocaine after that? Like, what if you had a drug test, you're clean, you go piss and you fail because you just ate a bunch of crab legs? You know what I mean? Like, these are the questions that you have to ask. What effect does this have not only on the health of these sea creatures, but what effect does it have on your health? Because even if you're not worried about being ripped limb from limb by a bunch of high sharks, now you have to worry about, hey, is there cocaine in this fish? You know, I want to make sure that I'm eating fish without drugs in their system. So, I mean, all I know is, folks, it's an interesting time to be alive. Every single day you wake up and learn something new. Every single day seems like the plot of a movie. And I guess, they say that, fact and the truth is stranger than fiction. And it really is, because 90% of the stories that I cover on my YouTube channel, they feel fake. You'll look at them and be like, this isn't real. And then you realize, wait, this is real. And it's kind of scary. But let me know your thoughts about this down in the comments below. If you're out there in the waters, you better be careful. While you're down there in the comments, hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe, ring that notification bell, and I'll talk to you all soon in the next video.